are you setting clear expectations of what it is that you want? Because if it's coming back to you wrong, then maybe someone doesn't have an idea of what great looks like. I'm Michael Mogill, founder and CEO of Crisp, the nation's #1 law firm growth company. I've built my business through practice, not theory. Crisp started with just $500 to my name and has grown to over 8 figures in revenue over the last few years, earning a spot on the Inc. 500 list of the fastest growing private companies in America. Our approach has been to take everything we've learned about generating massive growth within our own organization and help the country's most ambitious and committed law firm owners do the same for theirs. In each episode of this podcast, I sit down with innovative market leaders from the legal industry and beyond to learn from those who thrive in the face of adversity, challenge the status quo, and define what it means to be a true game changer.
This is Jessica, Head of Coaching Strategy at Crisp, and today we're flipping the script for another special edition episode to get Michael's take on why you keep failing at delegation, the difference between developing people and babysitting adults, and how being nice to your team is actually the cruelest thing you can do.
By avoiding that type of conversation, you're not just hurting yourself, you're hurting the person who doesn't have the ability, they don't even know what they're doing wrong, and you don't empower them with the ability to improve.
That's coming up on the Game Changing Attorney podcast. All right, another one, Michael.
We back again.
Always.
DJ, what is it?
Catnip.
Catnip. And there's another DJ comment. So the girls were watching this show.
Gabby's
Dollhouse. And I heard like, DJ Comet. I was like, yeah, you know they were thinking, like, the writers of the show were like, they were just doing a spinoff DJ Khaled. Obviously, our 6-year-old and the 4-year-old, they don't know that.
Right.
But every time I hear it, I just smile. It's just funny.
Yeah.
So we're back for another AMA.
Yes, with DJ Comet.
DJ Comet, yes.
We were just talking about you getting back on the Whoop, which I haven't gotten back on the Whoop train, and just when's the last time you did a lot of things? So you asked me when's the last time I jumped?
Yeah.
Which was last week, jump squats.
Okay, so most people though, let's say you listen to this podcast right now, if I were to ask you 2 questions, number 1, when is the last time you jumped? There's going to be some people that be like, I don't know, I haven't jumped in years. And then what if I asked you, when is the last time you sprinted? Like
yeah,
you went
that
on a
I don't know.
Sprint, like full out, like full speed. And what happens is usually after the age of 30, we stop doing certain types of things, right? Like jumping being one of them. Skipping, cartwheels.
Oh, I brought back the cartwheels.
And then there used to be the school of thought that as you aged, right, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, everything would decline, right? Your level of health and fitness and your strength would decline, and then your like VO2 max would decrease. And what they're showing now is that that's not always true. There's things you can influence, and there's 70-year-old marathon runners that are running like PRs, like they're setting records, and they're in the best shape of their life. So it's just fascinating, right? If you stop doing it for a while, then yes, it's going to atrophy and decay, and it's you start to wonder, is it like correlation or causation? When they've done these studies in the past, and they said, okay, well, 60-year-olds are not as fit as 20-year-olds, but as a whole, yeah, I'm sure that's the case. But then also, are 60-year-olds more sedentary than 20-year-olds? And also, like, did we look at the exact sample size the same, saying like 60-year-olds that have eaten clean for 60 years, that don't drink alcohol, that live in blue zones, that are doing strength training and like cardiovascular, like zone 2 conditioning continuously, are they in worse shape than they were when they were 50 or 40
right.
or so on, right?
Yeah.
And you compare that against those other cohorts. And that's really tough to do because as a whole, most people are not that healthy. And most people do not make very good decisions in regards to their health. And every time we travel, like I get judgmental about this. I see it like when we went to Disney with the girls, and I was looking around and I'm like, man, wow. Like society as a whole.
Or the other day we were at the movies.
Yeah. Oh yeah, we were at the movies and this lady next to me just brings in a whole bunch of Bojangles and like not even movie theater food.
No, it was like, it was a lot.
It was a whole like just fast food dinner. And by the way, if you ever do that on a plane, you should be escorted off the plane. I think there should be like 2 rules. Number 1, you can't bring fast food on a plane. And then number 2, you can't heat up fish in an office microwave. I think that should be grounds for putting somebody on a performance improvement plan.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
If they stink up the entire office like by microwaving fish. I mean, don't you think?
I have very strong feelings about this.
I'm just saying, it's just like common courtesy.
Yeah. Yeah. Actually, same at the house, though. If there's ever salmon or something in the house, like you're immediately like, open the doors. Anyway, when was the last time you jumped?
I probably jumped last week, right? But then you were just talking about, because we do like jump squats and a lot of like functional fitness.
Yeah.
So, there's that. And I'm much more big on, instead of like static lifts, more of like dynamic lifts now. So when I've gone in the past, like, it's because it's called like functional 45-minute workouts, functional exercises of everything that you would do in your day-to-day life, like carrying your kids up the stairs or whatever. I mean, you're not doing that in the class, but you're like simulating it, right? Like you have weight bags, you're jumping, you're sprinting, like, et cetera. So you keep those, those muscles sharp,
functional
and functional.
Yes.
Yeah. And you could be in there, you could be like a 70 or 80-year-old grandma in there, and they're getting after it. So I would just say, if nothing else, and we'll get to the MMA, is just that you don't put this thought in your mind that everything is going to decline from wherever you are today to where you are in the future. And back to the Whoop, they had this thing they added, health span or whatever. It's gamified. I don't know how accurate it is. It's fun, but it will show you your biological age, right? Of saying like, okay, and then based on certain activities, like everything from like your heart rate to your VO2 max, it measures everything in terms of how much zone 2 cardio you get in a week and your sleep consistency. It just all these different variables. And when you're doing the right thing, your pace of aging goes down. So my goal was to be like biological age 30 at 40 years old.
Yeah.
So the point is, it's more about like health span, not just lifespan, right? It's like the life in your years. And really the goal of it is just like, what are you able to do? Because if you're not able to, go on a hike or play with your kids or go up a flight of stairs without getting winded, that has nothing necessarily to do with your age.
Yeah.
It has to do with like your habits.
Correct.
And whether, your sleep and with your exercise and the food you put in your body, like the fuel, right? Can you imagine fueling yourself with Bojangles every day? You got to respect yourself to some degree, right? I mean, literally, like, all of your outcomes are dictated by, in many respects, the decisions and choices that you make. It's essentially, if you're just like laying around all the time and you wonder why you don't have energy, it's because you got to get your body moving.
Yeah.
Maybe you need to jump up and down.
That's why you got your little trampoline.
Maybe you need to sprint.
Yeah.
Right. So anyway, let's move on to the AMA. That's it for health and fitness. We've offended enough people. You guys submit questions and we answer them here on the show. It could be anything about leadership, growing, scaling a law firm, culture, team, etc. You text us at 404-531-7691. There's different types of episodes on the podcast. I won't even tell you about those this time because I don't want to be predictable. And instead, we're going to go right to the questions. So what do we have this week, Jessica?
All right. Question number 1. Hey, Michael, I want your take on something because I'm just so frustrated with my team. I know to grow, I can't do everything, so I delegate all the time as much as possible. The problem is everything always seems to come back to me or I have to redo their work later. I don't want to micromanage, but that's what I find myself doing every day with everyone. How do I get them to get it?
That's kind of a loaded question. Without knowing exactly why this is not getting done to your expectations, it's hard to tell you what you should do differently. But I would ask, are you setting clear expectations of what it is that you want? Because if it's coming back to you wrong, then maybe someone doesn't have an idea of what great looks like. And sometimes whenever you assign a project and you're saying, just go do this, and someone doesn't have a frame of reference, they're going to base it on whatever their standard is, right? Which may not be your standard. And it doesn't mean it's higher or lower, it just may not be aligned. So if you're constantly having to like redo the work, well, obviously that's not a very good use of your time and energy. It's not a good use of their time and energy. And on top of it, you're paying them to do work that you later have to redo. So it's like a triple whammy. Bad for everyone.
Yeah.
Right. And then it obviously, like on their end, if they're seeing that their work's being redone, that doesn't really give them any sense of pride in the work that they're doing. So they're probably not engaged either. So it's really just, I think it starts with providing clarity on what exactly it is that you want when you're at different stages of business. So I would say today, if I'm having to like redo someone's work constantly, and we provided that clarity, you just got the wrong person, right? Like if you're having to explain how someone should do their job, then it's probably the wrong who.
Yeah.
But that being said, in the early stages of business, when you can't just, hire whoever you want, right? Maybe you can't afford the ones that have been trained on other people's dimes, then you have to provide that level of coaching and you have to provide that level of support so that you can actually help develop somebody and they can develop the skills that you need to be able to get something done right. I mean, it's the same thing with you have like young lawyers working with paralegals, office staff, etc. They may come in with the will, and they may be gritty, but it doesn't mean they come in with the skills.
Correct.
And you can teach and train the skills, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen overnight. And it's the same way that you didn't produce like phenomenal work the very first time you did something, right? The first brief you ever put together, for example, right? The first demand letter that you sent. So it's having that level of patience, but it really starts with how much credit are you providing, like for this person. We did a podcast on this topic entirely, of just setting clear expectations, clear deliverables, clear deadlines, like having the right feedback loops, essentially having all those rhythms that increase the probability of something getting executed to your standard. So maybe go back and listen to that episode. Maybe we'll put it in the show notes, so we can find which one it was. But I really think it starts there. And if you are in a position where, you don't have to build it and you can buy it, then you can find somebody who's already done what you're looking to get done, and they've done it at a higher level, and they can just come in and bring in their experience.
Exactly. All right. Question number 2. I have an attorney on my team who keeps making the same mistakes, and I keep stepping in to fix them before they become real problems. I want to let her learn from failure because that is how I learned, but I just can't seem to let it go. It's gotten to the point where I think she probably knows and depends on the fact that I'll save her every time. How do I break this cycle? I feel stuck between protecting my practice and actually developing my people.
So there's nothing wrong, in my opinion at least, with somebody making a mistake.
Correct.
Like, meaning that mistakes are going to happen, and ultimately it's just a part of life. But there is something wrong with somebody who makes repeated mistakes, and that signals to me that they're not learning and they're not improving. And maybe it's because either they don't know they're making a mistake, or there's certain aspects, let's say, like sometimes it's like ego is a big blinder for people. They don't believe that they're doing anything wrong, or they hold themselves to they view themselves so highly as to believe that I have no room to improve. I don't need to grow, develop my skills in any way. So I would pay more so attention to the fact of, like, if these are the same mistakes happening over and over again, and have you communicated that? Is that person aware we're fixing the same things?
Right.
We're doing the same things. I'm going to come and bail you out. Because what is it? There's like a term for it where it's weaponized incompetence. That's what it is. Weaponized incompetence. And the idea here is that in the workforce, if you just royally fuck something up so bad, someone won't ask you to do it again. And it's like a strategy utilized by people to essentially have less work on their plate, right? I think Mark Andreessen had talked about this at one point. So if you're coming in to save the day every time, then why does she have to learn from her mistakes? She can keep making them. Maybe the mistake is a shortcut. Maybe it's just like, hey, whatever. This person's gonna save me. Then there's also just, if you want to speak to like how to empower people in terms of you not doing their thinking for them, right? In terms of you burning their calories in your brain instead of them, right? And like the 1-3-1.
Yeah, basically. I mean, we've talked about this before too, but don't just be a person where everything gets dumped on you and all the problems. So if someone comes with a problem, they also need to come with 3 potential solutions. They may not even be the right solutions, but people need to get in the habit about the way that they think rather than just checking things off a list or just like, here, go fix this. And by having those conversations, you are coaching them, and you're coaching them on like, okay, well, that seems like a viable option. That one doesn't. Let's talk about why. Really empowering people to think.
100%. And I was thinking as you were saying this, that these people live among us, right? Can you imagine like somebody confronts an obstacle or barrier and they're like, that's it.
Yeah.
I don't know what to do. Wow. Right. And then when we talk about having to coach and develop people as leaders, it's really fascinating because not everybody will be able to develop on their own, right? Or at least not at the same timeline, right? Not at the same speeds. Like sometimes really all knowledge is how quickly you're able to change your behavior, right? So it's like you get new information and that influences you to be able to make different decisions. But if you just get new information, you still make the same decisions, then is it really knowledge? Knowledge without a change of behavior? Like, so it's just fascinating thinking these people live among us. And, what you don't want to do is you don't want to find yourself in a situation of babysitting grown adults. That is not good for anyone. And this comes back to like certain non-negotiables. Like this is one of the non-negotiables in my life. We have children at home. Like we don't need that at the office. We want to treat adults like adults. And if someone is not able to self-manage effectively, if they're not able to come with 3 potential solutions, they don't even have to be the right solutions, but just 3 potential solutions that we can work through. If someone's not receptive to feedback and coaching, they don't need to exist here, right? And it's okay. I mean, they can be someone else's headache somewhere else. Like that's totally. Maybe the person who asked this question, you can have them, right? And You can tolerate the fact that they keep making the same mistakes over and over again, but just realize that you are paying every 2 weeks for this headache. You have decided that you are going to put this person on salary and you're going to pay them every 2 weeks to create headaches and stress and pain in your life.
Yeah. The first time you told me that about someone, I just
It's
really,
insanity.
It is.
It's true insanity. Now, I would always start with trying to coach somebody up, right? Making sure that, number one, they have clarity and they understand where they stand. And whether if it is a mistake, well, how would you do it next time, right? We always do like a post-mortem. When a mistake happens, there's like a debrief, and then we look at it and say, all right, how would you approach this differently? We have like a whole tool that we've worked them through, and they get to think about that situation and what led to it and what could have led to a different outcome and what they would do differently next time. That's a productive exercise for somebody to do. Then you meet with them and then you go through it. It's good to have that feedback loop because, again, there's nothing wrong with making a mistake.
Correct.
I've had people over the years and they're like, oh man, I made this like huge mistake. Am I going to get fired? And I always say, like, well, probably not, because you've made this mistake. And if we fired you and we hired somebody else, they haven't made that mistake yet, so they'd have to learn. Any one isolated item, it's like, okay, it happens.
Yeah.
I mean, I make mistakes, right?
Yeah.
All the time. But repeated mistakes signal to me a lack of learning. And you don't want to have slow learners around you.
You're going to harbor resentment over this person also if you just keep cleaning up. So, all right. So question number 3. Hi, Michael. I run a pretty small immigration practice. There's just 5 of us. We've been growing recently, which is great, but I'm struggling to find the balance between being direct about performance issues and maintaining a good relationship with my team, especially since we're so small and in many ways we built this practice together. I see and work with these people almost every day, so I don't want to create conflict, but I'm getting more frustrated about some recurring issues that don't seem to get resolved. How do you give tough feedback without damaging the personal relationship? Oh, this is right up your alley.
Let's all hold hands.
Kumbaya.
Kumbaya. Let's all sing. I just hear this. I've never really struggled with this person.
Literally never.
It's just not my, but I do know that other people do,
Yeah.
right? And we're not all built the same way. I just view it as almost silly in the sense that when you start your business and let's say you have a vision for your law firm and what you will do and the impact you will make, and if you enable or you allow like your inability to have a conversation to prevent you from achieving that vision, it seems kind of silly, right? If you weigh the two and say, let's maintain the status quo, let's not ruffle anyone's feathers, but we'll never achieve the thing we set out to achieve, and that is a compromise that you're willing to make, that's essentially what you're doing when you're avoiding difficult conversations. And they're not always difficult, right? They're just crucial conversations.
Yeah.
Conversations that need to happen to be able to resolve some sort of misalignment.
Yeah.
Right? That is exactly what needs to happen. But there's a lot of people in that, like, I am not a fan of these types. I consider them weak individuals where they prioritize their status and perception of just being a good, kind individual. They never want to provide any sort of like criticism or feedback to somebody because they're so well regarded that they need to maintain their status and perception within the
Yes.
tribe, right? Because their identity is that they're a well-liked and loved individual.
It's a good guy. Just a
just
nice
a
guy.
good guy, right? And they sometimes see the opposite type as if you are providing critique and feedback and having these crucial conversations that you are the bad guy, and they don't want to be the good guy, doesn't want to be the bad guy. They're like, I don't want to do that. They're not going to like me. Think about how weak that is, like true weakness. Because by avoiding that type of conversation, you're not just hurting yourself, you're hurting the person who doesn't have the ability to they don't even know what they're doing wrong.
Right.
And you don't empower them with the ability to improve. It's selfish. And I would argue that sometimes the bad guy is the effective guy. And I would look at those that have more of these difficult or crucial conversations as the ones that make the most progress. And the ones that are worried about maintaining their goodwill. Like, I don't want anyone to not like me. I don't want anyone to say a negative thing about me because I'm just so nice to everyone. Like, they're caring about the wrong thing. They're caring about, like, this is why they need a little dose of that insouciance, right? They care about, like, what is everyone going to think of me? And they care more about that than they do about making progress.
Yeah.
And that's why I say it's weak, because these people will sabotage your organization.
Yeah.
And if you have a culture of it, nothing will ever get done.
Yeah.
It's going to be a bunch of fake smiles and fake laughter, and there's just a complete lack of transparency and alignment, and no one's ever going to say what they're thinking because they're all trying to preserve their status in the tribe of, like, I'm a nice guy or I'm a nice gal or whatever.
That's why we always say we're a team, not a family.
100%.
Yeah.
And honestly, the ability to work through conflict is what represents a strong team. That is a healthy team. We don't have to agree all the time.
No.
In fact, you may disagree, you may challenge me, and I'll say, okay, why do you disagree? You can have a conversation, you can have a debate, and then you can reach a resolution. Wow, what a strange concept, right? Of people being able to, like, two people putting their egos to the side and being able to say, what is best for the team? Like, how do we move this forward? How do we solve this problem? But instead, at most organizations, you have people that don't ask what is best for the team, and instead they say, what is best for me? And what's best for me is to not ruffle anyone's feathers because I don't want to have a difficult conversation and I don't want them to think poorly of me. And then they wonder why they drift through life and never make any meaningful progress.
Yes.
It's because they just, they're irrelevant.
I think I'll always go back to also, it's not what you say, it is how you say it.
That is true.
So keeping that in mind with said delivery.
Yeah, absolutely. We did a podcast on that one too.
Yeah, we did.
It is also exactly how you say it, but I think it's having the courage to 100%. Be able to have that conversation with it, work through a problem or a misalignment as opposed to practicing avoidance. That's how you make some progress.
Have the conversation.
Have the conversation. Be more concerned with making progress than preserving your own feelings and people's perception towards you. Now, again, this is all easy said, right? Someone's going to hear it and say, yeah, or they're going to disagree and say, well, I don't like that. It makes me uncomfortable. I don't want someone to not like me. And what do you think? What, they got to cast some spells on you or something? They don't like you? Congratulations. Like you stepped outside of the norm, right? You're in the arena, right? Someone's going to have criticism and critique of you. That's just a part of it. You're trying to get 100% approval rating all the way through your life. Some people just have fundamentally different values from you. They have a different perception of the world. And to be quite honest, they probably don't think of you as much as you think they do.
Yeah. And that's it for today.
Until next time, namaste.
You've been listening to the Game Changing Attorney podcast with Michael Mogill. If you found this episode valuable, here are 3 free ways that we can help you grow your law firm. Number 1, download the first chapter of Michael's book absolutely free at gamechangingattorney.com. Number 2, you can shoot Michael a text at 404-531-7691 and ask him any question you'd like. You might just hear the answer on the next episode. And finally, number 3, if you can leave this podcast a 5-star review, it will help us gain access to more influential thought leaders and bring their lessons learned here to you. For more information on this episode, see the show notes in your podcast app or visit legalpodcast.com.